Media Relations Director for the 23rd Judicial District Attorney's Office. I know most of you. I appreciate all of you coming here today on a very busy news day on short notice. And Dan, I appreciate you fighting the traffic on I-25. That's a big deal. We also want to thank County Attorney Jeff Garcia for being here, and Commissioners Van Winkle and George Teal, who we'll hear from in just a second. We appreciate your presence here as well. We're talking today about public safety and immigration. That's what this U-Visa is all about. And it's a topic that's huge across the country and not just here in Colorado. So the way we're going to do this is we will have Commissioner Teal speak first, then George will speak, and then he'll answer any questions you have. And I know from your emails you have a lot of questions. So feel free. I know, I thought it was crystal clear. Anyway, everybody, first of all, Commissioner George Teal.
All right, thank you, Tom. I'm George Teal. I'm the chairman of Douglas County Board of Commissioners, and here today to announce the full support of the Douglas County Commissioners of DA Brockler in pursuit of this lawsuit filed against Governor Polis in the state of Colorado. Without going into too much detail, because I am not a lawyer, nor do I play one on television, the federal law was designed to allow latitude for local law enforcement when dealing with investigation and prosecutions of crimes. Thanks to the analysis by our DA, it is very apparent that House Bill 21-1060 interferes in that capability of local law enforcement to enforce safety, public safety, and law here in Douglas County, Colorado. So we fully support DA Brockler in his suit, and at that, I'm sure the guy you really came to hear, District Attorney George Brockler.
Hold your applause until he's finished, please.
Hey, thanks for coming. My name's George Brockler, last name Brauchler. I am the district attorney for the new 23rd Judicial District. Politics should play no role in prosecution, public safety, or criminal justice, but this bill that we're suing the state over injects politics into a place where it shouldn't be. I want to just step back for a moment and acknowledge that one of the things that the sheriff and I are responsible for are to try to protect the citizens of this jurisdiction, but also the non-citizens too. If you are here in this jurisdiction, you deserve to feel safe when it comes to the state criminal law. What happened about 25 years ago is Congress recognized that we have people in this in the country who have immigration issues that make them particularly vulnerable to exploitation by the bad guys. The bad guys would prey upon them because they thought that these people will never go to law enforcement because they don't want to be deported. So Congress said, let's pass a special kind of visa. Let's create one. We'll call it a U-Visa. And at the time, they allocated on an annual basis only 10,000 for the entire country. 10,000 for all of America. Now fast forward to where we're at today. In 2021, as part of an ongoing effort by the General Assembly to favor illegal immigrants over public safety, and I believe that that's what they've done, the law was changed to affect how the sheriff, chiefs of police, and the DA interact with this U-Visa. This U-Visa is a federal, it's a federal creature. It has a federal form. It has instructions on how to use that form. It has instructions on what factors to be considered. And throughout all of those things, it says, you DA, sheriff, chief of police, you all have the expertise to know when you want to use these. And so we're going to give you a ton of discretion in how to do this. And I've used this thing many times. I've signed this since I was DA back in Arapahoe County in 2013 numerous times. And I'm certain that Sheriff Weekly has as well. Well, in 2021, the legislature changed the law to now try to tell me when and how I'm supposed to fill out this form. They mandate that I sign this form even if I don't want to. And what they've said is, George, and to the sheriff and chiefs of police, if someone comes in and makes a credible claim of victimhood for a certain delineated number of crimes, and they've shown a willingness to cooperate in the detection, investigation, or prosecution of those crimes, George, you don't have any discretion about whether to pursue this for them and certify this form. You have to sign under penalty of perjury, and you have to certify that these people are eligible for this special 10,000 only U visa. Well, that creates a whole bunch of problems for me, in my opinion. One, the state has no business telling me what I have to attest to under penalty of perjury on a federal form. That is overstepping their authority and their bounds. They don't have any business defining for me terms, and one of the terms they seek to redefine is cooperation. And the way the state defines cooperation under this law is to say, unless you have documented proof that someone didn't cooperate, you must presume they were cooperative. So in this lawsuit, and we have to sue the governor because he's the guy that executes all the laws. We have to sue Attorney General Weiser because he's the guy that goes after the people, and we've seen this in Mesa County. Dude is lawsuit happy. If your name has Trump in it or you're law enforcement, this guy's coming for you. Well, I don't want him to try to add my scalp to his wall. And so this lawsuit is an attempt to say, whoa, federal government, you got to intervene here and tell the state you're wrong for trying to force these people to sign these documents. There are two examples I put in this lawsuit that are telling about what this state law would do. One, we had a case where someone applied for one of these special, bless you, one of these, that's Jeff Garcia, who does not want to be on camera. I want to emphasize, Jeff Garcia does not want to be on camera. These special visas, and said, oh, I was the victim of an act of domestic violence back in 2021 or 2022. Well, that guy could have legitimately been a victim. And he could legitimately say, I want to cooperate. The problem is the statute of limitations has run on that. That guy can't provide the system any assistance in holding accountable the person that victimized him. We can't do anything to make the community safer. But under this state law, I would have to certify this form and send it to ICE just as if he were someone that could help us get the bad guys. And that would be one, potentially, of those 10,000 U visas. There's another one. There was the daughter of a domestic violence victim of a case who, when they're a minor, they fit under the definition of victim. It was a misdemeanor case from 17 years ago. That case was prosecuted. It resulted in a conviction, and there was a sentence. And this particular person has been coming back to get U visas every time they expire, or at least now 17 years later. Under this statute, I'm not allowed to consider any factors like you can't help us keep the community safe. Your presence here doesn't help us hold the bad guys accountable. That's the problem with this law, two big fold. One, it infringes on my First Amendment rights both as an elected official and as an individual. And it oversteps their bounds in terms of what they have the authority to do. And that's why we filed this suit, because it doesn't make us safer. It doesn't provide any greater protection for victims who are non-citizens. In fact, it works the opposite. It puts at risk those special visas by making a whole bunch more people eligible that'll either slow the system down or will gobble up U visas, and then they be all gone. At the end of the day here, this bill is not well-intentioned. It seeks to take a powerful, limited tool that law enforcement has and convert it into a golden ticket to stay in America. And I disagree. I'm happy to take questions, but I don't know, Commissioner Van Winkle, did you have something you wanted to say?
No, I've just joined George and our other partner, Abe Layden. The county commissions are fully behind our sheriff and our district attorney in this. No sheriff or district attorney should ever have to lie on a form or be forced to lie on a form as they see it, in order to, especially when it comes to protecting perhaps an illegal immigrant over public safety. And so our Board of County Commissioners is fully in support and here today to show our support to our district attorney.
I appreciate that. And I gotta say, this would be a much harder lift if we didn't have the support of the county commissioners and the super smart county attorneys that are helping us with this particular case. I look forward to the opportunity to have the district court weigh in on this. I think if this particular lawsuit is successful, I think we can look at other areas where politics have intruded on prosecution, criminal justice, and public safety. But for right now, this one seems the most obvious and pressing to me. Do you guys have any questions?
Is the 10,000 already filled up, or is it for just Colorado?
No, it's 10,000 for America. So that federal law allocates 10,000 for the United States. And I don't have a running total. I don't even know how they keep track of it, but they must keep track of it because they have that limitation in there. What else?
Why now?
It's a great question. When I was district attorney before, we didn't have this law in place. And I willingly used that U visa thing to the benefit of victims throughout the jurisdiction that needed it. Well, I left the office, and then they passed this law, and then I got elected back into office. And what I encountered right away when I got back into office was more U visa applications. And I would routinely tell my folks, hey, not that one, it doesn't fit, we can't prosecute that. And they said, whoa, George, the law's changed. You have to. And I said, no, I don't. Nobody's gonna order me to fill out a federal form under penalty of perjury and certify certain things. I'm not doing it. That's the reason the timing is this.
Clarify something for me. The way it's been presented elsewhere is not that it's gonna make you sign a form, rather you have a specific time frame to sign the form. Can you tell me what the differentiation is?
Yeah, they're both right in this way. There is a time frame that you have to respond. By the way, arbitrarily chosen by the state. It's not a time frame that exists in federal law at all. That also impacts my willingness to want to participate here. But it does compel me to sign. And the first words of that language are shall. And it forces me to sign those spaces that they want me to sign. And it actually goes further than that. It says, you're only allowed to consider these two factors, even though all the instructions from the Federal Register, the instructions that HSI puts out, even the form itself allows me to consider a whole host of things. And the instructions say discretion. This statute says, no, you don't get to exercise discretion. You shall sign. And if you don't, then you have to provide a written letter. Every year you have to send us how many of these that you've turned down, with explanations, and we're in the process of doing that for 2025 right now. Anybody got anything else? No other questions? Really thought it was compelling. Oh, go ahead.
Just to clarify, so you're saying that the House bill is a violation of your First Amendment right and the supremacy clause?
That's right. That's
Could you
right.
explain the supremacy clause?
Right, it's about whether or not a state can come in and order, someone from the legislature come in and order an executive member of the state to fill out a federal form over which they exercise authority. Immigration is 100% the federal government's domain. And you know where we found that out? There was a Republican governor in Arizona, if you'll remember this, some years ago, who I'm not sure that's the correct pronunciation, but she signed, what's that?
I said common spelling.
You know, it's not. She signed into law, a law where Arizona said, okay, President Obama, if you're not going to enforce immigration law, we will. Well, the Obama administration took that governor to court, and the Supreme Court said, nope, immigration is 100% the purview of the federal government. And this seeks to interfere with that process. And there's other stuff, there's other smart language in that lawsuit that I'm not responsible for generating. Yes, sir.
So this bill is a Colorado state bill.
Yep.
That's been passed years ago. What do you hope, do you hope they'll just wipe it or edit it? The bill that has that specific.
Yeah, it's a fair question. One, the court is not in a position to edit the bill. It's only in a position to excise portions that are unconstitutional or violative of some other superior law. My thought is the way this thing is structured and the way it's laid out is the only real result that can happen here is either the federal government's gonna say, nope, this 100% is A-okay, or it is 100% wrong, and it's gonna go away. I'd like to see the legislature step in and amend this to make it consistent with the discretion that I have under the federal law. But I don't expect that's gonna happen. Not in this climate. What else? Anything else you can think of? Channel 7? Come on now.
Really?
That's it? Nothing?
George?
Ma'am, nothing?
Broncos are favored by 1.5. You want to give your thoughts on that against the Bills on Saturday?
Listen, I'm no expert, but here's how we win. I wish I could be at the game, man, but I think we'll know a lot. Don't we just need Bo Nix and the boys to show that they can score early and often, because all too often, man, we sneak up on the red zone and then we take a nap and kick a field goal. You know what I mean? Like, we need to get in there and score some points. And that Josh Allen guy, come on, raise your hand if you don't think we should have drafted that guy 100 years ago when he got in. I mean, yes.
I totally think we
We
should.
got Drew Lock, man.
By the way, I'll be at the game. I'll be at the game.
Oh.
I have a smart TV, so when I yell at the
Oh,
TV, they hear me.
I get it.
I'll be there too.
Hey, I really appreciate you guys. Oh, yes, sir. Another question.
Well,
Jared Polis?
to go back to, your lawsuit is
Yeah.
hoping that the governor, who's a lame duck governor, is gonna somehow get the legislature to change or eliminate that law.
That would, if I had my druthers, I would say the governor should look at this and say, you know what, we probably got out over our skis on this one, we should change it. But what I really think is gonna happen, and it won't be today, this month, maybe even this year, when this thing finally winds its way through court, I think what you're gonna see is the federal government say, nope, this law got way too aggressive in two areas that it can't get aggressive, First Amendment and Supremacy Clause stuff, and it'll strike it down. That's my hope. But then after that, I want to turn my attention to some other things that have really kept us from keeping this community safe, but this is the first most pressing one.
Why do you think this is kind of the linchpin one, potentially?
I don't know about linchpin, but I do think the issues are the most obvious. I mean, listen, I talked to a bunch of law enforcement officers who didn't even know what the hell a U visa was. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is why this explanation. And we have spent a long time, even this past year, talking to Telemundo and Univision and all these other places to say, know that this is out here, so that if you're a victim of a crime, man, come to law enforcement, let's get the bad guys, and we'll make sure that you can stay here while we fight to get the bad guys. It's not widely known, but the issues are pretty clear. When you explain it to someone, they go, well, wait a minute, why would the state do that? Why would the state want you to certify someone to stay here on a case that they can't actually do anything valuable on, that we can't hold the bad guys on? And that's a good question.
Go ahead. You had mentioned that you have seen an increase in applications for visa U. How many do you see in a year? I mean, I don't know if you can add a number to that.
We haven't seen, it's hard to say uptick, because I don't know what we saw over the last 4 years when we were the big 18th, when we were Arapahoe, Douglas, Elbert, and Lincoln, and the vast majority we always got were out of Arapahoe County. Arapahoe County's population somewhere in that just under 700,000 or so. Half that population is Aurora. We had 88% of it. It's the most diverse city in America outside of Brooklyn, New York. That place generated a lot of U visa requests for obvious reasons. Last year, and we're still tallying it up, we're in the double digits, but I can't tell you where we are in the double digits. I think I have rejected or denied, or whatever the terminology is, 4 or so for various reasons. Some of them are reasons that aren't touched by this law, and then the 2 that I cited in there are 2 that I thought were pretty glaring examples of why I think this law does something that doesn't make any sense. But I also want to assure people too, especially if they're watching your news feed, if you're the victim of a crime, come forward as soon as you can, and there are tools that we have to try to protect you while we go get the bad guy and hold them accountable. But if you wait too long to come forward, there are a whole host of charges where once the sand runs out of that hourglass, there's nothing we can do about it. We can't help you. Anything else? Yes, ma'am, sorry.
The lawsuit claims that the House Bill 21-1060 denies more deserving victims the opportunity to be able to secure
Yeah,
one of these
that's right.
visas. What constitutes as a more deserved victim?
Does it say deserving, or does it say, is that the language in there, deserving?
More deserving victim.
I imagine what that's a reference to is the fact that if they're in that window of we can prosecute someone and we can get justice for them, that is a measure of deserving. If it's someone who has been the victim of a crime and they hung on to it for whatever legitimate reason, it doesn't matter. I've hung on to this crime, my victimization, for 5 years. They're not as deserving. They came to the party late. We don't have the tools to get justice for them. We don't have the tools to keep the community safer. When I say deserving, I mean someone we can actually do something for. There's a limited amount, there's only 10,000 of these things. And by the way, if you ask me, do I think Congress should expand the number of these things? 100%. They should have done it every year. They should make it as a percentage of whatever the measured population is, or whatever the anticipated population of non-citizens are. They should do something like that so they don't have to come back and revisit it. But that's not the universe we live in. We live in Realityville. There are 10,000. End of story. Anything else you guys can think of? Great. Thank you guys.
Hey, thank you all for coming out here today. I appreciate